So DJI just dropped their new Osmo 360 camera, and if you've clicked on this video, you're probably guessing how does it stack up against the Insta360's new X5? Well, I've been testing both these cameras for the past couple of weeks, from sunny conditions to low light, really trying to push them to the limit. And in this video, I'm doing exactly that. I'm comparing them side by side and hopefully answering the question of which camera is better. If you're new here, my name is Arthur. I'm a software engineer turned filmmaker, and most of my videos kind of combine those two passions together. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so first off, we have the sensor comparison. On the surface, both of these cameras have improved a lot. The Insta360 X5 has 1/1.28 inch sensor, whereas the Osmo 360 has 1/1.1 inch square sensor. And traditionally, 1-inch sensors are 4:3 aspect ratio, so a bit more rectangular, which usually means that the camera has to be a bit bulkier, there's a lot more processing data, and effectively you just get a lot of useless real estate on the sensor itself. And DJI decided to come into the game and introduce their first square image sensor, which uses effectively most of the pixels on it. And just comparing both of these cameras side by side, the sensor on the Osmo 360 is a little bit bigger. So if I had to pick a winner in this category, it would be the Osmo 360. Both of these cameras can shoot 8K 30 frames, which is great. But I found that when looking at the Osmo 360 footage, it just seemed to have a bit more detail in it and just looked a bit more crispier. I think overall that's just because of the bigger sensor on the Osmo 360. And both of these cameras claim to have 13.5 stops of dynamic range, so I thought I wanted to put it to a test. I did two scenarios. First was shooting towards the light and paying attention to the ground as well as the skies, and then second was shooting outside with a backlit building to pay attention to the details in the shadows. Straight off the bat, I noticed that the Osmo 360 has a bit more detail when it comes to the ground and the skies, obtaining a bit more in the higher brightness values. And then when focusing on backlit buildings, I noticed that shadows are also a little bit cleaner on the Osmo 360. Honestly, both, if you get the settings right, can look pretty good, but that's only part of the equation. The other part is the color. We always try to make sure that 360 cameras can be integrated with the rest of the video. So that means color matching it to the bigger cameras like my Sony FX3 and making sure that they can live side by side. And that's usually where 10-bit color depth comes in. In this case, Osmo 360 really stands out because it offers 10-bit color depth, which is something that the Insta360 X5 unfortunately doesn't have. Then another test I decided to do is check out the low light performance of both of these cameras. And going into this, I had a preconception that the Osmo 360 is going to be a little bit better anyway, just because of the bigger sensor. To my surprise, putting both cameras to the test in their low light shooting modes, I found that the image is actually very usable. X5 videos looked a little bit mushy and not as crisp compared to the Osmo 360, so again, I kind of feel bad for the X5, but the point does go to the Osmo 360. So on the surface, looking at the image quality alone for both of these cameras, the Osmo 360 seemed like the better contender. Let's see how it compares when it comes to design. Both cameras are pretty similar when it comes to their weight. The X5 comes at 200 grams, whereas the Osmo 360 comes at 183. When it comes to the size, the Osmo 360 is shorter, similar in thickness, but a bit wider head-on. I don't really have a preference, however, I heard from others that having a shorter design makes it a bit less clunky when you mount it to helmets and other parts of your equipment. Another big thing that you might have heard about are the lenses. The X5 has interchangeable lenses, allowing you to quickly swap out a damaged lens, which is a huge plus. Osmo 360, on the other hand, has a fixed lens design, so you can't really replace those. You can get little lens protectors, but I think they look a bit quirky, so I probably wouldn't use them. And I feel like your best alternative here is to get the DJI Care Refresh plan, which I think probably works out to be cheaper than changing the lens. But equally, if you're on the go and you want to make sure you can do it then and there, the point does go to X5. I'm currently in Spain, Malaga for Sony Kando, and that is in itself a different story. Artlist recently integrated Google's Nano Banana image generation model into their website, meaning that you can change the environment, add objects, remove objects, or change the scene completely. And the best part is once you're done with that, you can generate a video right on the website.
If you've been watching my videos, you know that Artlist has been my go-to platform for templates, music, sound effects, LUTs, and AI voiceovers, and the list goes on. So if you want to find out more, go to the description and check it out.
And then the next big question is the battery. The Insta360 X5 has a unique battery that is part of the enclosure. So if I take it out, this comes off, and as you can tell, this is part of the actual case. Also, if I do want to get into the memory card slot, I do have to take out the battery, and this does not work with the X4. And also, I believe it's a bit harder to charge multiple of them if you have a pack. But that's their design choice. Now, when it comes to the Osmo 360, the enclosure is a little bit different. That opens up here, and you still have your battery inside that you can easily take out and then replace, which also, by the way, works with the Action 5 Pro, which I think is kind of a big plus. And if you want to get into the memory card slot in there, you actually don't have to take out the battery. If you decide to get a bundle, you also get a couple of batteries along with a charging case. As for the runtime for both of these cameras, I haven't tested out myself, but I trust the claims online. The Osmo 360 lasts up to 100 minutes, whereas the X5 lasts 88 minutes. That's both of them shooting at 8K 30 frames. These cameras also have endurance modes. So if you were to shoot at 6K 24, you can get 190 minutes on the DJI Osmo 360, and on the X5 shooting at 5.7K at 24 frames per second, you get 208 minutes. So battery-wise, they're quite similar, and it's not really a big deciding factor in my opinion, because both of them perform really well. I do like the fact that the Osmo 360 has quickly interchangeable batteries that also work with other cameras, but again, that's personal preference. With all of that aside, we now have the user experience and the ecosystem of both cameras. You see, the experience of using a product is an important aspect, and ultimately, I would say it's sometimes even more important than the actual specs. Both of these cameras can also be connected to external microphones. However, from my experience and the research that I've done, the DJI Mic 2s are by far one of the best microphones that you can get. So I haven't tested out the Insta360 microphones, but I can confidently say that they're not going to be as good as the DJI ones. And you can connect up to 2 microphones to the Osmo 360 and only 1 to the X5. And then the next big part that's part of the experience is the software. Now, Insta360 has been in the game for a really long time, and it's given them a chance to pretty much have a head start at creating a really good app that is optimized and works really good. DJI, on the other hand, are new to the game, and even though they have their own apps for the action cameras, the 360 world is quite new to them. And not in a bad way, but you kind of have to keep that in mind when you use their software. There's some rough edges here and there, the animations are not as good, maybe some features are not there, but that's something that comes with time. And I'd imagine the more you use it, the more you're gonna get used to it. So it's not really a big problem. Question still remains, which one is better? And after testing both these cameras out, I have a 3-part answer. All the specs point to the Osmo 360. It's a better sensor overall with cleaner image, so if you want to get the most out of these cameras, it's definitely a better option to go for. Insta360, however, has been leading the market for years, and it shows through the optimized app and how easy it is to replace the lenses. So if you're someone who does extreme sports and wants to spend less time editing, the Insta360 X5 might be a better option for you. But even then, I personally would still prefer the better quality. I'm quite invested in DJI's products, from gimbals, drones, microphones, to their latest action camera, where a lot of these accessories are cross-compatible. And it sort of creates this bubble that I'm comfortable in, so going for the Osmo 360 makes sense to me. And if you're choosing between the two, it might be worth thinking ahead and looking at what other gear you're planning to buy. In my opinion, the Osmo 360 definitely shines and is a better camera to go for, especially when it comes to resolution, the color depth, battery life, and the kind of ecosystem that it offers. And for the record, I think it might be worth mentioning that this video is not sponsored by DJI. However, they did send me this camera for free, and I bought the X5 just to kind of compare them and see which one is better. Hopefully that answers your question, and if you're thinking of buying one or the other, you now know which one you should go for. If you enjoyed this video, which I hope you did, make sure you like the video and subscribe for more filmmaking, tech, and travel related videos. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'm back in the office, as you can tell. However, not for long because we're moving, but I'll cover that in some other video. Peace.